To formally open this learning session, may we call one of the best performing Division Director of District 75, Division Director Adrelin Paul Gascon.
Good evening, fellow Toastmasters. As Division K Director, I officially open this webinar workshop.
All right, thank you so much to our Division K Director, Toastmaster Adrelin, for giving the platform once again. Ladies and gentlemen, I would like to introduce to you all and let the speaker take the floor, the 1995 World Champion of Public Speaking, Toastmaster Mark Brown.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Greetings, everyone. What a joy and pleasure to see everyone here today. It is really a thrill for me to visit the Philippines virtually. I was first there way back in 2004, I believe, a long time ago, as a guest. And I am just thrilled to spend some time with you all this morning. I will confess that 10 years have gone by, and so have all the dark hairs on my head. So my age is now showing. But I'm so glad to be with you because we're all speakers. We all want to present. And to be very honest, today I'm just going to have a conversation with you. Nothing fancy, nothing overly dramatic. I simply want to share a few ideas about the power of using stories to build better presentations. And I believe all of us at some point in time have to admit that we're in effect, we're storytellers, whether we know it or not. I can remember as a child growing up in Jamaica, there were times we had scheduled power outages. We knew the lights would go off at a certain time. So we had to do our homework by candlelight or by lamplight, and that was fine. But there was one gentleman down the street, I'll call him Mr. Bill, one of my friend's dads. He would get all the kids together and he would just start telling us stories. And man, it was wonderful hearing him talk. We were all enthralled with these ancient African stories of a spider named Nancy, and it was really great. And I realized that even as children, we have always loved stories. I like what my fellow Toastmaster and world champion Darren LaCroix says. When the child is going to bed and you want the child to go to sleep, they give you every excuse. I want to drink some water. I don't feel tired. I want to drink some milk. And then they never say to you, you know what? Give me a PowerPoint presentation. No, the child says, tell me a story. And we're all storytellers. So today I want to share a couple of points with you. And I want you to understand this, to really grasp this. As Toastmasters, we all want to give better presentations, don't we? The truth is this: better presentations begin with better stories. Better presentations begin with better stories. And the cool part is this: better stories, get this, begin with you. Now, I need a favor. I'm going to ask you all to use the chat and just type in a Y for yes or an N for no and tell me, have you ever thought to yourself, well, you know what? I don't have any great stories to share. I don't have a fantastic story to tell. So maybe I won't tell my story. If you've ever, even once in your life said that, type in a Y for yes, N for no. I'm hoping to get all N's. But if I get a couple of Y's, it won't disappoint me, okay? Well, I'll tell you one more thing, though. I'll be really honest. I've traveled the world over, and I've met people from all over the world. And I'm so thankful that many of you have said, no, I have no difficulty sharing stories. Because in my travels, and I've been blessed to travel to, 5 continents over the last 25 years, a lot of people have no difficulty telling stories, but the problem is they don't think their story is the best story to tell. I'll be honest, I've heard stories about Mahatma Gandhi, Mother Teresa, Abraham Lincoln, Bill Gates, Steve Jobs. I have heard stories about famous people. So do me a favor. As a Toastmaster, can you recall ever attending a meeting or a contest and hearing speakers tell the stories about other famous people? Type in a Y for yes or an N for no. If you've ever heard speakers tell stories about other famous people, Y for yes, N for no. Good, all these Y's coming in. Great. Thank you for your honesty and for your participation. I really appreciate that. I began to study that phenomenon. I wanted to know why it is that people were not telling stories of their own. And I'll share with you, I love that one. I remember 10 stories. Thank you, Panos, my friend from Greece, 10 Mark Brown stories. I love that. But I began to ask this question, and I came to a conclusion. I learned a few things. I came up with 4 basic answers when I asked this question. I don't want to share those answers with you. I want to address them very briefly and give you some ideas how to find stories and show you how you can tell them really, really well and wow your audience. So I began to ask the question, why don't we, the public, tell our stories? Why don't we tell our stories? And here are the 4 most common answers I was getting to that question. One is, nothing exciting ever happens to me. Nothing exciting ever happens to me. Second answer was, I have no great accomplishment. I didn't fly to the moon, and I wasn't the first guy to go to a different place in the world. I didn't accomplish anything fantastic or great. I don't have a sensational story. I didn't have to climb Mount Everest uphill, backwards, barefoot, both ways. I have no sensational story. And of course, others tell me, I'm not famous. I'm not a celebrity like Mark Brown. That's just a joke, my friends. That's just a joke, okay? But the truth is, people do give these reasons and these excuses for not telling their stories. But see, I believe that for all of us, the audience wants to hear us. Definitely. They come, they see you speak, they want to hear you. But more than that, I really believe the audience wants to know you. And how will the audience get to know you? By you sharing your story. The audience gets to know you when you share your story. And the purpose of your story is to elicit emotion. Now, why is that important? Because the emotion establishes a connection, not just to a topic. The emotion establishes a connection to you, the individual. See, when you share your story, I get to know who you are. And if nothing else, this thought goes through my mind. Oh, yeah. They know how I feel. They've been where I've been. They've done what I've done. So maybe they can do understand me as a person. And that's why I'm going to ask you to really think about this. Tell more of your stories. I'll say it again. I'm going to ask you, I'm going to urge you, I'm going to plead with you. Please tell more of your stories. I want to know about you, your life, your experience, what you've seen, where you've been, where you've done. And you don't have to have been all over the world to tell a story. Sometimes great stories come from down the street, or neighbor next door, or maybe the man who tells stories to kids in the neighborhood when the lights go out. These are very simple truths that we need to look at. I know people always say, wow, it was a great experience to meet a world champion, to attend a conference, to attend a sporting event. It was cool. It was awesome. It was wonderful. I'll tell that story. Yes, but we do ourselves and our audiences a disservice if we fail to realize our simplest stories can be the most powerful stories. And the cool thing is, if we just give ourselves a chance to have these conversations, we'll find ourselves building relationships we never thought could exist. The thing is, though, stories happen every single day. So there's one thing I want to point out as well, that some people think for a story to be valid, it has to have some great significance or some power behind it. But stories occur to us every day, several times a day. And they come and they go for a couple of reasons. One, we don't always see and acknowledge them. And the other is we forget them and they pass us by. So here is a suggestion for you in order to capture your stories. I think if we do a simple task, and that is called maintaining what I call a story file. Now, let's say story file, it could be literally a file of stories. You could use pen and paper and write it down. And there are many ways for us to capture our stories. I know people who walk around with a recording device to record what happens. That could be something you can do. Your mobile device, your phone, I would think, has a recorder on it. Use your mobile device, record something on your phone. I use tools that help me to record my stories. I'll share quickly. One of them is what I call the OneNote app on my Windows laptop. And that is actually a photograph or a screenshot of my story folder. And you'll see tabs across the top. I have people I've met, sports, customer service, and so on. And there are additional tabs over here that I can't even see. I'll drop, you can't even see them. But I keep a list, and I have keywords. In the particular picture, you see I have China high-speed train 2015 or flat going to ATL. I just use keywords to tell me, there's a story there. I can tell that story. So I make a note in this tool called OneNote. It isn't the only tool I have. I have one online also called InkPad through Google. It's a free tool. And I can put my story ideas there about daily debrief, people I've met, whatever tool works for you. The cool thing with these two tools, the OneNote and the InkPad, is that they're also available for a mobile device. So here's a screenshot of my mobile device. I have a folder I call Business. And in it, I have my Polaris Office. I have my OneNote right here. I have my InkPad right there. So I can be on the go, on the road, and something happens. What do? I whip up my mobile device. I find my OneNote app, and I just start typing things in because it's a convenient way for me using this. I just tap OneNote. It starts to load up. And before long, boom, I can start typing stuff in. It's really, really very simple. The cool thing is with these particular apps, it looks like that on the OneNote mobile. That's the InkPad mobile. I have, you have, we have no excuse for not keeping track of our stories. And here's a truth you have to grasp. Your story may seem mundane to you, but one person's mundane is another person's magnificent. That sounds fancy. You know what? I'm going to put that back on the screen. If you want to screenshot that quote and keep it for later on, I want to let you do that. Okay, I know people are taking notes furiously. That's good. I love people like me who use paper. Okay, please feel free, grab that, head you upon us, grab that, to take a screenshot, take a picture. One person's mundane is another person's magnificent. Let me explain that by sharing one of my own stories, okay? It has to do with mindset. Those of you, excuse me, who have read my bio, my details, will probably have learned that when I was 18 years old, I left my home country, the island of Jamaica, to begin a brand new life in the USA. I had with me 2 suitcases of clothes, a dream for a better life, and $40 in my pocket. $40 in my pocket at the age of 18, brand new life, starting from scratch, from base. That's it. And in a matter of 15 years, I was the world champion of public speaking. 40 years later, I have talked to over 1.5 million people around the world on 5 continents. And I have a high school diploma, no formal college education. And people hear that and they go, wow, Mark, that is an amazing story. You mean you were 18, you had like $40, you had to get a job, and you're a world champion now? Oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And maybe you don't want to admit it, but perhaps there are a few people on the call today who believe that, who have felt that about me and my story. Here is my problem. Because it's my story, it's the life I have lived for my entire life. I'll be 60 years old next year, okay? Because it's my life. For me, it's just my life. It's normal. It's no big deal. It's what I did, what I had to do. But to somebody on the outside looking in, they're pretty impressed by my story. The truth is, the same applies to you. What you may think is just your story, it's normal, it's okay, it's my life. Other people go, oh my goodness, that's amazing. How did you do that? What was it like? Tell me about it. And before you know it, people are asking you to tell them your story. But they don't know until you reveal who you are. And that's why I tell you, people want to hear you, but they really want to know you. And when they get to know you, you establish a connection, it goes one step further. You begin to build a relationship, and then you realize what's common between you. You find that ground, and you've made a new friend. And I believe I've made friends all over the world by simply telling the story of my life that I think is no big deal. But people think, wow, that's amazing. You may have a skill that you use, and to you, it's no big deal. I do it all the time. It's part of my life. But it becomes mundane and normal and average to you. To you, it's no big deal. But to your audience, to your listeners, to your new friends, it is truly something interesting. And they want to learn more about how you did it, why you did it, what did you learn along the way. And they're literally asking you to tell them your story. So the first true shift that must take place here in our own minds. People are interested in you, your life, your experience, and yes, even your mistakes and the lessons you've learned from those mistakes. So I challenge you, I dare you, starting today or tonight where you are, to begin to maintain a story file. Keep track of the experiences you've had, the people you've met, the things you've done, even the simplest things. Be observant. Be aware of what's going on around you. Just keep track of it. Because you know what? I want to reiterate this one point. Your story does not have to be sensational. Your story does not have to be sensational. It just has to be sincere. Okay? And feel free to screen grab this quote. I think Panos needs 2 or 3 pens today because he's writing everything down like he did earlier this week when I was with the Nepalese group. Your story need not be sensational. Your story need not be sensational. It just has to be sincere. I'll repeat that. Your story need not be sensational. Can screen grab that. It just has to be sincere. Okay, Mark, I hear you, I get you, but where do I really find these stories? The stories are inside us. Our job is to become excavators and dig these stories out. And there are myriad, many ways to find stories. I'm going to offer you 3 right now. I only have time for 3 ways to find these stories, okay? Here's one. I call these a story starters. And I love this one because it's very, very easy if you spend some time alone and write this down. I call it best and worst, last and first. And here's how this works. You take a noun, a thing, a person, let's say car, and you think about what was your best car? What was your worst car? What was your last car you bought? What was the first car you bought? Now, I know this is different cross-culturally because not everyone has owned a motor vehicle. But certainly in North America, I've done this program in different venues for professional speakers, for Toastmasters. I said, think about the first car you ever bought. And I see people begin to laugh out loud. Oh, yeah, my first car, when I was going to university, and my dad bought me this car. It was 15 years old. It had 150,000 miles on it. And when I turned it into it, went every time. Oh, yeah, my first car. I remember I had my buddies and it was a manual transmission. And we used to park near a hill. They couldn't start in the morning. We couldn't really start the car. What we would do is one of us would go in the car. We'd sit in the driver's seat. We put the car in second gear. And everybody would push. And we pushed and we pushed. I'd pop the clutch. And that car would start. And I'd watch people in a workshop begin telling these stories about their first car. Maybe car isn't your thing. Maybe you put the word supervisor, manager, or boss and say, who was your best boss? Who was your worst boss? And be honest. For those of you, I'm going to stop sharing for a second and ask you a question. Just give me a Y or an N in the chat. If I were to ask you to think of a story of the worst manager, supervisor, or boss you've ever had in your life, could you find a story right now in your mind about the worst manager you've ever had in your life? Give me a Y for yes or an N for no. I'm getting 9 Ys at a time. Everybody's going, yeah. Now, right there, you grab your OneNote. Oh, yeah, my worst boss. Oh, my gosh, I remember that boss. All of you going, yes, 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 yes. Okay. Now, the thing is, both me and my therapist could find that story. My boss drove me to therapy. Now, that's an interesting story. right away, that is an interesting story. And you don't have to search too far to find a story like that. It's that simple. Your best and worst, your last and your first. Conversely, if I asked you who was the best teacher you ever had in school, or the best coach you ever had in a sporting team, or the best neighbor you've ever had, I know you quickly put a whine. You can think of who they are. Best storyteller, I went back to Mr. Bill. He was a great storyteller. That comes to mind. You insert any noun you want in that formula, and before you know it, your stories begin to come pouring out of you. And the thing you have to do is to connect the story to the value of your message. And it's very easy simply using best and worst, last and first. If you take some time and use that simple formula, stories will pour out of you, pour out of you. And I don't know, people are loving Panos's reaction. I love it, man. He's making me laugh like he did last time. Please hear me, friends. You have so much to offer. And trust me, don't sort, don't sift, don't say, I'm going to find my best boss story. You may find your simplest boss story, and that would be what it will connect to your audience. I'll tell you a really, really quick, really, really brief boss story. I can remember I was a brand new programmer in IT. Yes, I used to be a mainframe computer programmer way back in the 1980s for a bank in New York. And I had a boss, I'll call him Steve, because his name is Steve. And Steve had this look. He waddled at it when he walked, and he looked like a penguin from the old Batman movies. He had a very high-pitched nasal voice and a strong New York accent. He called me, hey, Mark, he did it for me. And he was just, a little off. And he's the kind of guy who was, we call it a micromanager, the kind of guy who has to be involved in everything you do. I remember one day at my desk, at my computer, typing away, and I stopped. And I had the feeling that there was someone watching me. Back then, I had hair back then, and my hair and my back of my neck began to stand up. Like, what's going on? And I'm not kidding. Just true story. Out of nowhere, an arm came over my shoulder and tapped a key on my keypad. I've heard of micromanagers, but this guy physically touched my keypad as if he were typing for me. And I found out I was not the only one he did that to. Trust me, I will never forget Steve. I can talk about Steve all day long. As a matter of fact, I talk about Steve in my leadership talks very, very often because he's a great example of what not to do. And I apply Steve, my worst boss, to my talks on leadership, and I connect a story of my life to people in the audience who go, oh, yeah, I got a boss like that. The only thing you must hope is that no one sees you as that kind of boss, because that might be a problem. So here we go. Think best and worst, last and first. That's a way to recall. And as a bonus, you could even do this. And I didn't plan to share this, but I'm going to share it anyway. You can use what I call the seasons of your life. The seasons of your life are the times in your life where you were in school, maybe when you were in university. Maybe you use a season of being married, your first time being a parent. These are all different seasons, and stories can come bubbling out of you if you choose to use them. But every single day, things happen. Every single day we see and hear things. Every single day we have experiences. So here's one very, very quick suggestion beyond the best and worst, last and first. You can debrief your day and just ask some simple questions, okay? Get this. In your life, what amazed you? Think of today. What amazed you? And keep track of these things. Record these things. Capture these things. I had to give a speech back in February when I could fly, okay? And I had to give a speech in a venue that looked like this for a company called Caesars Forum in Las Vegas. Now, I trust you can all see the theater. It's the back of the theater looking down to the front. Very small theater, seats 45 people. That's the back view. From the floor, you see the seats and a reserved parking sign for wheelchairs. Cool little theater, right? Don't laugh too loud, Panos, okay? Now the question becomes this. What is that theater like? Why is it so small? I'll tell you why it's so small. It is so small because that theater is housed inside that truck. That theater is inside that truck. When I had to speak there, I was amazed. What did I do? I got my camera out, my mobile phone, and I took a picture of it. I love what my friend Darren LaCroix says, capture what captures you. He says, capture what captures you. So I captured a picture of the theater and of the truck. And believe me, I have told this story time and time again. People go, what? There was a full theater inside the truck? Yes. So ask yourself, what amazed you? Take a picture of it. Record it. What amused you? What made you laugh? Well, I have a daughter, Andrine. I call her my princess. She's 36, and I always call her princess. And one day, I went to the grocery store, and I happened to notice a candy bar, Snickers. And they often label their candy bars for fun. And I saw that candy bar. What did I do? I captured a picture of it. And I tell the story of my princess, Andrine, and the candy bar. And I find a way to connect that. I could talk about relationship, loving your family, and seeing things every day that remind you of the ones you love. See how easy that was? By simply recording a picture of Princess. And I told her, she laughed, she LOL, she laughed out loud because she felt the connection. Okay? What amazed you? Record it. What amused you? Record it. And then what moved you? What made you cry? What made you feel something? What really emotionally got to you? I spent several years giving talks to kids in schools across North America, and every once in a while they'd send me notes or an email or even a handwritten letter. And I talk about bullying, how kids are being treated. And as a matter of fact, one of my talks was recorded by a company called Goldcast and put on their YouTube channel about Dad Gets Profound Advice from a Disney cartoon. Might want to check it out. You can just go to YouTube and look for Dad Gets Profound Advice from a Disney movie. You'll see the clip. It's about 13 minutes long. But I talk about bullying, and this child wrote me a note and told me how painful it was for her to be bullied. And in it, she drew herself and wrote, "This is how I feel." A handwritten, hand-drawn picture of a child who she sees herself with tears running down her face. Her grammar is not perfect. She's not a grammarian or a Toastmaster. She's 10 years old. But to tell me how she felt, she drew me this picture. And it moved me. And I've kept it. And I've talked about this picture in schools around the world because it moved me. What amazed you? What amused you? What moved you? And you cap it off by asking this question. What did you learn that you can share? You share your honesty and your emotion with your audience. And what happens is they get to see you, they get to understand you, and they get to realize that what you experience is not that far removed from what they experience. But if you capture it and hold on to it, then you can use it. And these days with virtual presentations, visuals are really helpful. So do one more thing. Ask yourself this question. What else do I have? What's in your camera roll? What's in your gallery? This device has a wealth of information. And I'm kind of weird that way. I have in my camera roll, I actually keep track of folders in my gallery. That's right. My photo gallery has folders in it. Folders. And I have my camera has a whole bunch of pictures in it right there. If I go back from this, I have folders in my camera all on the side. Because you know what? We all have some really, really cool photographs that we can share. And the photograph tells the story. If you pick up your mobile phone right now, unless you're using it to watch this broadcast, if you grab your mobile device right now and go to your camera roll or your photo gallery, I can almost guarantee that you'll see a photograph. You'll go, oh yeah, I remember that one. And many of us will even take our personal photographs. What we do with them, we put them on the front of our devices. That one right there was Mark and Andrea renewing our vows in our front lawn on the event. I'm going to get my full screen for this. That was Andrea and me renewing our vows on our front lawn under a beautiful white tent on the occasion of our 30th wedding anniversary. Do you think maybe I've been able to use this photograph in presentations to tell stories about my life, my wife, with no strife? Do you think I could use my photograph to touch audiences who are considering marriage? Now, I appreciate that, Ruben. Amazing. But see, to me, it's my life. It's how I keep track of. This is my phone. My phone. This is my phone screen, home screen. And people go, "Wow, you look so beautiful." I say, "Yes, I can make it look even better. I can enhance the photograph by doing this. Now it looks really, really good." Okay. But here's the point. Okay. Your photographs contain stories that your audience can learn from. Your photographs contain stories that talk about you. Your photographs contain stories that share your life with people. Your audience doesn't want just to see you and hear you. They want to get to know you. And once you decide what stories you can tell, it's also important that you tell the stories well. Okay? I'm going to offer you a couple of tips on telling the stories well. Besides using words that depict the emotion, I want you to understand something. When you tell a story, it's not just enough to talk to the audience and give a speech. Indeed, I tell you all, really stop giving speeches altogether. What? Yeah. Give an experience. Don't just tell the story. Recreate the scene. Take us there. I want to be there with you. I want to see what happened. I want to visualize the scene. I want to hear what it was like. You can use the visuals, but if you tell the story well, you will paint a picture that wants the audience to think, "Oh man, I wish I could have been there. I want to be there." So don't just tell the story, recreate the scene and use narration less and use dialogue more. Many of us as storytellers find ourselves basically as reporters. We tell about what happened. But if you have the conversation, it makes that much more of a difference. When the audience sees the conversation take place, when they see your emotion, when they see your face, when they hear your voice, that's what becomes important to them. You can then bring them into the scene. I could tell you about a talk I had with my son when he was 13 years old. We went to the store to buy fabric for a product he was working on, and we're in the back of in the car talking, and my son got upset and he was crying. He told me about how, I was pushing him too hard. It made him feel bad. And I hadn't really thought about it. But what he said really touched my heart. And I realized he was right. And, we both ended up crying in the car that day, but it really changed our relationship. But if you have a child at home, a teenager, it can be hard to be with them. But have that conversation and strengthen that relationship. Now, quickly, why are yes on the chat? And I only have a couple of minutes. Why are yes on the chat? Did you get the point of that story? Did you feel that my son and I were talking about being a good parent and not being so hard on it? Maybe you did. But if I changed the format and added more conversation, look at it this way. I remember that afternoon, my son and I were at a fabric store to work on a project of his. And as we were driving there, he'd gotten upset. "Dad, I can't do anything right. You always on my back. You always tell me I'm not doing well. And I'm trying my best, and I really am." I put the car in park and I looked at my son. I said, "Jay, I just want you to be the best that you can be. And I know you have such potential. I don't want you to make the same mistakes I did." "Yeah, but you're pushing me too hard. I'm trying my best. You don't understand how I feel." And my son began to cry. And in that moment, I realized I had to check myself. I wanted so much for him to be his best. I had tried so hard to encourage him. I had pushed him too hard. And it took his honest conversation to show me I had to give him some grace. And I said, "Son, you're right. I didn't realize it. I'm sorry." Here we are, a grown man and his son in the car, bawling our eyes out. But it was refreshing. It was beautiful. Because that was a turning point. And I've seen my son differently ever since. And it made that difference to have that conversation. If you're a parent with a teenager, have that conversation. Build that relationship. Strengthen it. And now he's 33. And this past February, my son and I spent 10 days in the UK having a good time together. Father-son trip. We went to watch football, saw 4 games. We made a memory I'll not forget. Now, quickly in the chat, give me a Y or an N. Was the second version more emotional, more powerful? Y or N? Thank you so much, Tia. The emotional impact of the second story was much greater. Thank you. And all I did was I became the characters. I went back to the emotion. I went back to the scene. I went back to everything and said, okay, what happened? And I took myself into the scene. I became my son. I relived the moment and the emotion, and I used our dialogue, the conversation, and that made a difference. So what you need to do is this: become the characters in your story. Let us see, hear them. Let's see their face. Let's hear the emotion. Let's hear their voices when they get sad, when they get angry. Relive, don't retell, okay? Relive, don't retell. So I asked you to relive, not retell. I want to recap. Your life tells a story. Somebody out there needs to hear it. It's okay to tell somebody else's story, but we want to hear your story to make a connection, to feel that common emotion, and to build that relationship. Use story starters like best and worst, last and first. Use your mobile device. Use amazed, amused, and moved. Record them on whatever device you choose, a recording device, the OneNote, InkPad, whatever you Word document, write it down on pen and paper. Do what Panos does. You write it down. But keep track of your stories. You never know when you may be able to use one. And the key is to be aware every single day of things that interest you and capture what captures you. Tell the story. Become the characters in the story. Use narration. Use dialogue. Don't just tell us, take us. And stop giving speeches and start giving experiences. There's one more tip I want to share with you today. But before I do, I want to see if there are any questions you want to have for me before I close. I have one last thing I want to share, but I want to take some questions if Rafiq will allow us to do that for a few minutes before I bring you my last final thought. Rafiq, please feel free to jump in and take control. I'm at your service. Thank you all so much for that.
All right.
Like
Thank
those
you
hand
so
waves.
much, Toastmaster Mark. I think that was amazing. And you know, this is what great speakers do. They tell you stories and they hook you on. And then you don't want to let go, you know. You're wondering, you're asking yourself, okay, can this last for like at least 3 to 4 hours? You know
You're
what?
very kind, sir.
In fact, we reached the maximum limit on our Zoom account. Had we known this, we would have actually bought into some extra space on the Zoom account. But thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Mark. I think overwhelming connection with the audience. And I think that's what I meant when I said heavyweights of public speaking come from the 1990s.
Oh,
So
we're
really
old. Thank you. Well, thank you also for going live on Facebook. I'm sure there are others who are watching on Facebook who can get a few benefits and nuggets as well. So thank you so much for that. I really appreciate it. Thank you.
Wonderful. It's a pleasure, sir. All right. So this is the format that we've been doing this since our volume 1. Well, since the chat is open, and as I said, we love you all. We love you, our audience, so much. And we would like to, I personally would like to give opportunity to all of you to ask questions, but help me help you. Start posting your questions one-on-one to me, or else it will start flooding the public chat, and then you will lose the charm of your question. Send it to me one-on-one, and I'm going to take it, and I will assure you I will entertain as many as possible until the last second. All right. On this note, let me now kickstart this Q&A session.
Sure.
And to do so, we have our first reactor for today, who is joining us all the way from the United Kingdom. Help me welcome our first reactor, Toastmaster Dagmara.
Dagmara.
Thank you very much, Rafiq. And thank you very much, Mark Brown. What a moving presentation you just delivered. And I believe that I share the emotion in everyone in the room that we have stories in ourselves. It's just about our mindset, whether we find them or not. And I was taking lots of notes today because I found lots of new gems that I haven't heard before about story starters. That's amazing. And I think it's really helpful to all of us. I also love the story file, Mark, because you showed us that we don't have to wait for some extraordinary stories, that it can be visit to the dentist and it can turn into a fascinating story. And of course, capture what captures you. I really was moved by that. And the pictures, I believe we all have collection of pictures at homes, and it's just about taking them out or checking our phones and seeing what was the moment when we took them that really captured us and our feelings, and then put it into a story to help others get to know us as people. Thank you very much, Mark. It was really wonderful, and I am so honored to ask you a question, if you may.
Certainly.
And my question is, Mark, we all know as Toastmasters, we go to YouTube, we try to listen to those winning stories. And the question is how to create a story, a winning story, that we remain being who we are, that we remain being authentic and share the real ourselves with the world through our winning story. So how to be authentic in our storytelling? Back to you, Toastmaster
it's funny.
Mark.
Well, first of all, spasiba. Okay. And it's funny you mentioned that, because my closing point will touch on this. But the point is, you said how to be authentic. It means we need to think less of performance and more of being honest with who we are, because our lives and the truth of who we are, that's what gets people really, really going. If you go back 6 years, if you go back 2 years, Ramona Smith in 2018, she told a story of failing in school and getting a divorce. She was honest about what she experienced, and she shared that openly and said, I'm still standing. We were inspired by that. You go back 6 years to Dhananjaya Hettiarachchi from Sri Lanka. I See Something, the most watched video of all winners of all time. And he was honest about being a teenager who made mistakes and ended up in jail behind prison bars, and his mother had to see him there. He was authentic because he was being vulnerable. I said earlier, your audience wants to hear you, but they really want to know you. So you have to trust that the audience doesn't want to ridicule you. They really want to get to know you. And when you reveal truths about yourself in honesty, I reveal a truth about my failing as a father. I reveal that truth. I was failing as a father, and my son helped turn me around. That's not easy to share, but it was honest, it was authentic, and it was vulnerable. And that's what gets the audience to believe you, when they believe you're being truly you and not being focused on something else. So be authentic and reveal your truth to the world. Thank you. Rafiq.
Thank you.
Still muted. Here he goes.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Dagmara, for that wonderful question. And we love the way you were able to grasp everything in those few lines you presented to us. Thank you so much for that. And thank you, Toastmaster Mark. All right, we have a question coming in from Toastmaster Marciel. Toastmaster Marciel, if you're there, you can unmute yourself. I have enabled the option for you to go ahead and unmute yourself. And you can ask your question directly to Toastmaster Mark. Toastmaster Marciel. All right, you would like to be, okay. All right, I get that. So Toastmaster Marciel would like me to read the question out. So I'm going to do that. And her question is as follows. All right. Toastmaster Marciel would like to ask to Toastmaster Mark Brown, when we recreate our stories on online platform, to be Zoom in specific, would it make a difference if we only use vocal variety, or do we need to have show blocking? I mean, this is her words. I'm just putting it exactly.
Show blocking. Okay. I believe show blocking is a term that's for actors, where you, on a stage, you block certain places to create certain scenes. So blocking is the art of using points on stage to represent scenes. The answer is yes and no, in that if you're using a space in your home as a staging area, then certainly, yes, you can create scenes and certain blocks on the platform. However, if you are like me, seated in one spot and you really can't use much room, and that can happen at a breakfast, lunch, or dinner event when you're at a lectern or a desk, a table with people to your right and left, you can't move very much. What you can do is shift your body in certain ways. You can use your face to create certain emotions. You can use your voice to depict different characters. And those three simple things can help the audience see different scenes. Today, I mentioned that my son looked at me, Dad, you don't give me a chance. So you know that my son was here and I was there. I said, well, son, I didn't realize that. I turn this way, so now my son's to the right. That's a simple dynamic you can use. You can use your body. You can show different characters. One person is strong and tall, and they sit up tall. The other is more quiet. Their voice is different. Their face is different. And the teacher was really stern. You boys have been acting like children. You should do better than that. I'm sorry, teacher. From here to here becomes two different characters. So you can use the characters, you can use your face, you can use your voice, all those tools to help you relive the story in a confined space. And I hope it answers your question.
All right, wonderful. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Marcial, for that question, and Toastmaster Mark, for excellent way of answering that. All right, we've got a rush of questions. I'm going to make it as fast as possible. But just to note, if you feel or you see a message on your screen that says you've been kicked out, I apologize. That's not the word that is meant. It's only because when I admit someone and it goes above the allowance limit, it throws that message on your screen. No offense meant. I'm so sorry for that. All right, I'll quickly go into the next question. This one is coming from distinguished Toastmaster Nazir Gazak, joining all the way from Saudi Arabia. DTM Nazir, you can unmute yourself and direct your question directly to Toastmaster Mark.
My friend Nazir, assalamu alaikum. Unmute Nazir.
All right, he can unmute himself.
I'll unmute him. I can't unmute. I tried. I can't unmute him. Okay.
Oh.
Nazir, assalamu alaikum.
Thank you so much. Alaikum salam. Thank you so much, Rafiq, for this wonderful bringing a great legend. I don't want to give all these superlatives to this gentleman, but my question for you, Mark, is during now the contest season.
Yes.
You know that the winner's speech or a winning speech is not written; it's rewritten. Now, every time you make, dry run or present to somebody, they give you a lot of feedback. When do you advise the contestant to stop editing and focus on the area message?
Good question. There has to come a time, friends, where my friend Ed Tate calls it freezing the design. I would not recommend making changes all the way up until the night before the contest, because if you do that, it's likely you will not be able to internalize, not memorize, but internalize your content. What do I mean by that? When you internalize your content, you could be at bed at night, and I shake you awake at 2:37 a.m., 0237, and say, Nazir, give me your speech. And you wake up, what? Give it a speech. Oh, okay. Boom. And you deliver it. At that point, it's not memory, it's internal. And once you get to that place where you have internalized your speech, to go and start making changes on 2 days to go, 4 days to go, unless you have an epiphany that'll really transform your speech, I recommend you hold that design and have it. You want to get to the point where it's totally inside you and you don't need to even think about it because your heart says, I can't wait to share this. You can make changes until then, but for some people, the last 2 weeks, we freeze it. The last 2 weeks, it becomes more natural, the polish comes off, and I have a conversation. For some, it's a week, but I don't recommend making changes much beyond that. Hope it's helpful to you.
Excellent. Thank you so much, DTM Nazir and Toastmaster Mark. We have a question coming in from Toastmaster Shirley Tam. You can unmute yourself, ma'am, and please go ahead and ask your question. Toastmaster Shirley, please go ahead. All right, I see we have a lot of camera shy Toastmasters here today. All right, I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to call the next one who's asked the question here. All right, we have one question coming from Toastmaster Pratap Balakrishnan. Toastmaster Pratap, please go ahead and unmute yourself. All right, is it because I have a restriction here that you can't unmute yourself? Let me quickly figure this out. Let me start with Shirley Tam. She was first in.
Can you hear me?
I hear a voice. Yes, who is this?
Yeah, I'm Pratap. I who put the question.
I see you. Go ahead.
My question is, I have stories, but I feel that if I try to tell the stories, others feel that I am boasting about myself.
How
to make the difference between making them to involve instead of them feeling I'm self-boasting myself? Thank you.
Here's a principle. Okay, here's a principle. Your story is about you, but it's for them. It's about you, it's for them. And if all your stories paint you as the one who has all the answers, as the one who is always right, as the one who always done good, then people will think, yes, you are bragging. Now, I don't believe anybody here thought about my stories about me bragging. The story I told about my son, I revealed a weakness. I revealed a failing. The lesson being how to be a better parent. My story about Steve was about Steve being a really annoying boss. But if your stories always depict you as the one having all the answers, if you never have a guru who taught you, if you never learned the lesson that you're passing on, then they're saying, oh, all he or she is doing is bragging. And one thing you can do is this: you can use words like, I learned, I discovered, I found out. And I could tell you all the things I did. Oh, Mark Brown, you won the world championship. You know what? I was blessed to win because I found someone who was willing to help me. Toastmaster David became my mentor, and he guided me. And with his help, I won the trophy. It's not, I won the trophy. Best in the world. I'm a legend. I'm a heavyweight. I'm a giant. Listen to me. It's how you approach the story and the purpose of the story. Is it to exalt yourself or to give the audience benefit? Your stories are about you, but it's for them. Your stories are about you, but it's for them. You have to make that connection so they see value in the story and not just see you bragging about yourself. So look at how you tell the story, look at why you tell the story, look at the objective of the story, and find out what impact your story has on your audience. And that's for all of us, not just for Pratap. Thank you.
All right, Toastmaster Mark, thank you for that. As I was saying, we've got some camera shy attendees here. So
That's okay. That's okay.
Right, this one's coming from an anonymous attendee. She asked me, oh, sorry, I said she. All right, the question is, what if my story is something that is very embarrassing? What should we do to make it impressive? And how to develop a strong will to share such stories?
Very simply, I put it this way: do not use your platform for therapy. Don't use the stage as a means of unburdening yourself on the audience. You know your limit. Some people can tell a story 10 years later, but not now, because you're more mature and better prepared. You don't want to embarrass yourself, but if you believe your story has value to help the audience, you can share that when you are ready. Remember, why do you tell the story? Not to embarrass yourself, but to offer value and a lesson learned. And it takes time. Sometimes it's simply a matter of not what you say, but when you say it. Do not tell that story until you're ready. And when you're ready, you will know. You will share it confidently, but knowing it'll be of value to your audience. I hope that helps.
All right. Thank you, Toastmaster Mark. We've got another question, another camera shy person.
That's okay.
I'd like to recognize, this is Toastmaster Shirley Tam. I tried to unmute you and start your video, but I guess you have technical issues. Her question is as follows. Please help me to read my question. She says, all right, where is the question? Where is your question, Toastmaster Shirley? Yeah, here's the question. How to be concise to keep within the time limit and yet be emotionally descriptive and use those emotions in your conversation. This is a question. If I can repeat just for articulation. Do you want me to repeat it again, Toastmaster Mark? She says, how to be concise in keeping within the time limit and yet be emotionally descriptive when you're conversing with your audience?
Good question. The thing is, you don't need to use the whole range of emotions. You can use 2 emotions effectively in a 7-minute speech and not lose it. If you watch the world champion speeches, you will see laughter, and there are moments of silence, and there are moments of poignancy. You don't need to use every single emotion in every speech. You simply need to apply the ones that really are significant and are connected to the idea you want to share. In my speech, my winning speech back in 95, in the previous millennium, was fewer than 7 minutes long. The audience laughed. They saw some anger. They saw some drama, but it was enough in that moment to get the point across. Don't overdo it. Use just enough to be effective in the presentation.
All right. Thank you, Toastmaster Mark. And thank you, Toastmaster Shirley Tam. Okay, this one's coming in. It says here, a shy Filipino Toastmaster. So anonymous name there. Can you please comment on the speaker's accent? Is it a factor for a successful presentation?
Well, let me ask you this. Look at the World Championship. I am Jamaican. I won in 95. Go back the last several years. Darren Tay from Singapore. You had Manor Vasudevan, an Indian in Singapore. You had Dhananjaya from Sri Lanka. Okay? When Ramona Smith won, second place was Sherry Sue from China. Your accent is an asset. Use it, don't lose it. World champions have proven you can have an accent and still win the world championship. Your accent is an asset. Use it. Don't lose it. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Another question. This one's coming in from Toastmaster Rubin Raharjo. Toastmaster Rubin Raharjo, if you hear us, please unmute and you can direct your question directly. Toastmaster Rubin Raharjo.
Okay, I'm a bit shy here. It's an honor. I mean, I admire you guys, Mr. Mark at Tate. I was wondering how you could maintain that niche and your signature for all those years with all different pressure to always present it well, even in the bad times or good times, how you maintain that.
Well,
Thank you.
you bring yourself to the platform whenever you speak. You don't just bring a speech. You bring yourself, your experiences, your personalities. And life continues every single day. Stories happen every single day. But if you become known for delivering a certain type of message and people become reliable, what happens is you are just that. You are reliable. You are dependable. They know when they get Mark Brown, they get a crazy Jamaican guy who tells stories. He's very natural. He loves his family, and he'll give you principles for life, but he'll also maintain his family. They know that. They know I'm an honest, genuine person, and they know that. Darren LaCroix is funny. He's animated. He's different. That's his style. They know that, and people have liked that for decades. So I can't shift and change it every decade, every trend. I have to establish who I am. And people like me, and they'll invite me. If they don't, they won't. And that's still no problem. I'm here today with over 100 people and more on Facebook, and some can't get in because they might like me a little bit. Even my friends like Toy. I see Toy here. Hello, Toy. Good to see you. Petra Charadral. Good to see you, my friend. Okay? So don't change who you are. Maintain. Now, if you need to upgrade your material and add new stories or something happens in the world that's helpful to you, then certainly you incorporate it. But at your core, be who you are, because that's who your audience wants to know.
All right, I'm
Wow.
going to take 3 more questions on that note. Thank you so much for that, Toastmaster Rubin. We have Toastmaster Jason Brimon. Please unmute yourself, sir, and direct your question, please.
Thank you, Rafik. Hi, Mark. This is by far and so far the most informative Toastmaster webinar that I've attended, so thank you for that. My question is that you mentioned capture your stories. My struggle is that I have stories that are connecting with the local audience, for example, in the Philippines, but when I try to deliver it in another culture, in another country, there is a disconnect. So maybe people are not able to understand the context and the story itself. So what should I work on to make sure that the story remains intact, but it connects to everyone regardless of culture? Thank you.
That's a common concern. I tell my clients, and I coach several clients, pros and Toastmasters, you want to think globally. You ask yourself, are my references localized? If I talk about something that's local to my town, my city, my local audience, they love it. But if I go somewhere else, I go, huh, what's that? Quick case in point. About 15 years ago, maybe more, a contestant in the World Championship told a story about his father, and he used the term playing sandlot baseball. And he gave a speech, it was all over. And at lunchtime, my fellow Jamaicans and I sat to have lunch. And the Jamaican Toastmaster asked me this question, Mark, what is a sandlot? Now, the speaker's story, the sandlot baseball was critical to his story. But my Jamaican Toastmaster had no clue what a sandlot is. And a sandlot is an empty lot where people play ball because they haven't built a building on there yet. Very common in Jamaica, we call it open lot. They say sandlot in America, and there's a disconnect. And the speaker had no idea for an international audience, an American phrase might not work so well. So it would behoove you to ask yourself, how can I phrase this or say this in a way that a Greek could understand, or an African could understand, or a crazy Jamaican like Mark Brown could understand? How can I make my speech international enough for a generic audience to get the point? That'll take some work and some research, but you can do this. How do I know? I've done it for over 20 years.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mark and Toastmaster Jason. We got a question coming in from Toastmaster Cook Hoy. If I pronounce this correctly, Toastmaster Cook Hoy. If you hear me, please go ahead and unmute yourself.
I see you.
All right, there you are. Go ahead, ask your question. We cannot hear you. We cannot hear you, Toastmaster Cook. Although you're unmuted, we can't hear you.
Yeah, we still can't hear, unfortunately. We can't hear your microphone. Is your microphone working? Is it, maybe it's been disconnected? I'm not sure, because you're unmuted, but we can't hear you. If you type it in, I'll get to it afterwards, because you've done so much to get here already, but we can't hear you.
All right. Okay. I'm going to go ahead, Toastmaster Cook. While you sort out your issues with your microphone, I'm going to go ahead. Allow me to do so. We have another question here. This one's coming in from Facebook. Some of our Facebook viewers need to be also entertained. The question goes like this. Dear Mark, how do we adapt our presentations to online platform, and what adjustments do we need to make?
For online platforms, the adjustments are not that significant, but one is significant. And the most significant one is knowing that your audience needs to have eye contact with you. What do I mean by that? There's a camera on your device. Now, some people will use a mobile device, some will use an iPad, and some will use a laptop. Some laptops have a camera at the bottom of the screen, some, like mine, at the very top. Some mobile devices, the camera is actually right there, not here. And we're tempted to look here. We want to look at the screen, at someone else. But understand, virtually, your audience is a series of individuals. And right now I can see Papanas going, Mark, you're nodding, but I'm not looking at you. Right now, my eyes are on the screen. I see my friend Toy there. But all I must do now is lift my eyes up a little bit. And now I focus on my friends behind the lens. Focus on your friends behind the lens. Now, if you're in a staging area in your home, you can step further back and be less concerned about what the audience, the eye contact, but still my eyes have to focus there. That's the one thing. Here's why. In a group setting, you have an audience out here. You can look around the room. Right now, every audience member is an individual, and their only means of having eye contact is through that lens. That's the one big change, through that lens. You don't need to be more or less animated, especially if you set a staging area in your room. Use your natural gestures as you normally would. Don't change too much around. Be who you normally would be, but don't think, I've got to be smaller. I'm in a little window, so I do a bit smaller, or I got to be bigger. No, maintain who you are and share that with your audience. But the key is let them believe you are focused on them by focusing on your friends behind the lens. Eye contact the camera. That's it. Main thing.
Thank you so much to our Facebook viewer, and thank you, Toastmaster Mark. I'll take two questions last, and this one for the benefit of Toastmaster Cook. I see your question now. Your question is as follows, and I'll go ahead and ask it for you. Toastmaster Cook, who is asking you to tell her, do we need to do rehearsals to be a good storyteller?
Short answer, yes. And here's why. You can choose your words carefully to paint the pictures in the minds of the audience. So decide what words you will use to describe scenes, individuals, experiences. Choose your words well, because you don't want to tell us the story. You want to take us there.
All right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Cook. Last question, and this one is coming in from Toastmaster Lee Buckley. If you hear us, you can please unmute yourself. I'll give you one opportunity, or I'll read it out for you. Toastmaster Lee Buckley.
Hi, how are you? Thank you, Mark, for sharing
Hello, Lee.
them with us.
Yes.
Question, what you talked about the camera triggered my question. A lot of times we were told, especially when we compete, to stand when we give a speech. Would you advise, is it better to stand or sit when you give a speech?
Standing is wonderful. I did a program for a group of professional speakers last Saturday, and I went to my living room. I cleaned off a wall, took all the pictures down, and I built a staging area, brought some lights in, and I did a 3-hour program standing because that was effective. Whatever works best for you. I will not say you must stand or you must sit. There are individuals who are Toastmasters who, because of their life situation, because of their life, have had to sit all their lives. They're in wheelchairs. They don't change that. So I can't tell them to be different. But if you believe you can be effective seated, and I believe I could be effective seated today, so I am seated, then do it. Whatever works best for you, whatever makes you feel most comfortable, and most importantly, whatever you believe makes you most effective, in connecting with your audience? Thanks for the question.
Wonderful. Thank you, Toastmaster Lee Buckley and Toastmaster Mark. I have a couple of comments. I'll quickly read it out to you before I hand the control back to you for your closing remarks.
Yes.
Comments coming in from the following. Toastmaster Maria Luisa Juvan, she says, Mark, you are an amazing and prolific speaker. Thank you. We have Toastmaster Manju District 82 says, Mark, you are a legend. We have again Toastmaster Manju from District 82 says, Mark, it was nice seeing you live at our District 82 district conference some time ago. And then Toastmaster Tess says, you share great stories. I learn a lot. Thank you so much, Mark. You have Toastmaster Tia P, distinguished Toastmaster Tia P from King's Speakers London, District 91. She says, sincerity always shows. And thank you for that, Toastmaster Mark. We have Bharat Nangia says, thanks, Mark. Appreciated. Pleasure to attend all the way from Hong Kong.
Oh,
and you've, all right. And I've got here District 97 Toastmaster Nuk. Thank you, Mark, for the nuggets of wisdom. Enjoyed it much. We have Toastmaster John Fitzgerald Ackerman says, your wisdom was really helpful. Thank you. We've got someone calling in from the Philippines says, love all the answers. Thank you so much. We have Toastmaster Evie Jane Francisco, agreed with what you said, Mark. Those were gems that you shared. Someone says here, again, CJ Lim, I think from Singapore, says, awesome answers, a lot of gems to take home. One Toastmaster from India, Vikram, says, accent is an asset and don't lose it. Excellent wisdom on that. Thank you. Oh, you've got your great friend Panos saying here, philosophical Greek philosophy, he says. All right. Hazel Pascal is also sending her wishes to you. We've got a lot more coming in, and I'm going to just end that there, and I'm going to give the control to you. Okay, there's one good one here. It says, can we have another learning session from you, Toastmaster Mark, being a legendary speaker? And you've got Arlen saying, hi, Mark. It is such an honor to learn from you. Thank you so much for sharing so many gems. This is Arlen from the Philippines. Indu from India, wonderful lessons learned from today. Thank you so much. Andrew Liu from Spring City Toastmasters Club, District 118. Thanks for sharing a diamond in the rough, specific and useful. District 82 Toastmaster Shweta. Mr. Mark, you have made a mark on us. That's a good one. Right. On that note, thank you so much, BTM Mark. I'll hand the control back to you for your closing remarks before I will take the control and end the meeting.
Well,
Now,
thank you very much. I will not be long. Thank you very much. I have one final thought to share with you, okay? And I can't say thank you in all the different languages. Spasiba, terima kasih, salamat, merci, dankeschön, etc. If I missed you, please forgive me, okay? But here's a thought for you. Your audience is like you because your audience really is you. When you think about it, you won't have an audience of astronauts, or you won't have the audience of the people who brought some, who are world's best engineers. You might, but in general, certainly in Toastmasters, your audience are individuals, just like you. They want to share your story. And to respond to the question I was asked earlier, you want to be authentic and be vulnerable. Here's my math on that. Authenticity plus vulnerability equals credibility. Feel free to write that down. This is the one key. Authenticity plus vulnerability equals credibility. So be authentic at all times. I wish I could spend some more time with you, but I want to share with you the source of my inspiration. It's my family. Very quickly, on the right in the blue shirt, that son, Joel, who sat with me in that car many, many years ago, telling me I was being too hard on him, is on the opposite end. He's now 33 years old. He is a manager of staffing at the Washington, D.C. public school system. He's done very, very well there. He's got a dual master's degree in education. He's super smart. Beside him is my princess, Andreen. She is 36. She is the first African-American senior attorney in her division of the Social Security Administration of the U.S. government. She's engaged to be married. She's battling multiple sclerosis, and she's one of my heroes. She's amazing, and that's my princess. In the middle is my youngest, David. He's 25. He's here with us in Central Georgia. He's a songwriter, a singer, a producer, a recording engineer. He's very, very skilled, very, very talented. And of course, beside him is my bride of 38 years, Andrea, whom I love more now than I did 38 years ago when I married her. And this is my team who helps me to be my best. And I will confess, they're also a source of some great, great stories. Please look to your family for great stories. Think of all the times you get together for family events, for birthdays, for celebrations, for holidays, and the stories that you share. And listen very carefully when people ask you, hey, tell me about that time again when. When they say that to you, they're telling you you have a story that they want to hear. Make note of that. Work on that story and develop it. And your family can also be a great source of rehearsals. Let your family vet your stories. Listen to them. Andreen was 11 years old, heard me rehearsing my speech in Toastmasters for the World Championship, said, Daddy, there's no humor there in that speech. You got to fix it. She was 11. And she gave me advice. I put in a bad joke in my speech. I got a 13-second laugh because my family helped me to craft my speech. Don't discount the value of family, whatever that may look like. And if you want to get hold of me, please know this. Not only do I speak in Toastmasters, Darren LaCroix, 2001 world champion, my student, by the way, and I do a podcast called the Unforgettable Presentations Podcast. Get your mobile device out, scan that QR code. We release a new one every Thursday afternoon, a specific time. We have content. We also interview some really great guests, some of the best pro speakers in the world around the program. Scan that, check out our podcast. Now, I could only spend an hour and change reading today. Obviously, I would want to spend some more time. If you want to get hold of me, that's also very easy. Get a screen grab of this. Different ways to follow me. Different ways to find out what I'm doing. I record 1-minute videos a couple, 3 times a week, and they go on Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, and YouTube, and also on my website. They're called Mark's Minute Messages. If you want to get hold of find out what I'm doing, stay with my updates. I do updates all the time. Scan that particular QR code. It'll bring you right to my website. Now, scroll to the bottom of the homepage and sign up for my updates. I'll give you a free MP3, 5 keys to pursuing your passion and living the life you want to live. Trust me, I was 18. I had $40. Now I'm living a very different life. That free MP3 gives you my formula to pursuing your passion, living the life you want. That gives it to my website. Now, there may be 2 or 3 of you here today who are really serious about speaking beyond Toastmasters, and you might consider doing some expert coaching. If it's not for you, you can ignore this. But if you're really serious and would consider even working with me, scan that QR code and get information about personal, professional, expert, one-on-one consultation with me, and we'll continue that conversation. Trust me, my friends, I can't tell you the joy I have had being here with you. So again, if you want to be a client, please scan the code. If nothing else, go to my site, poke around, go to my YouTube channel, look at my messages. There's a nugget there for everybody. I will say this as I close. You can also simply remember this one truth. Your life tells a story. Somebody out there needs to hear it. So please, 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 my friends, look at me in the eye. Please tell your story, because you know what? I want to hear it too. Been my joy, been my pleasure sharing time with you. I wish you blessings. And Rafiq, if you get overwhelming response to do this again, I might consider returning. Thank you all. Blessings to everyone.
All right. Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mark. That's a big relief. You leaving us asking for more, or rather expecting more. Thank you so much. I love that part. It's the response has been overwhelming, and thank you so much. And I think it's just this magnetism that you bring to the floor, not just at your World Championship speech. It's been there throughout. And I don't really look at it and say that was 1995 and we're at 2020. I mean, I don't see that we've actually passed 15 years. No.
25 years, man. See the gray here?
25 years. My math is bad. All right. My math is bad. 25 years. I look at it and I say, you know what? The message is still clear. It's still resonating. It's still fresh. And even today, if you're going to use that speech and deliver it to us, I'm sure the magic will still be there. I think this is what the magic you bring forward. I appreciate this, and we love you so much, and we love our audience. And just wanted to inform you all, these sessions that we do are open to everyone in the Toastmasters family. And that's the reason, if you see, we peaked at 100, we peaked at about 50 viewers on Facebook. I did not open YouTube Live, by the way. So we could have had more on that. Toastmaster Mark, just to leave on a humorous note, and I love the fact that you said, you know, we need to have humor. I just want to leave on a humorous note. Ette, Darren LaCroix, Mark Brown, Manoj Vasudevan, Dhananjaya, and even some attempting to win the World Championship, like Aditya Maheshwaran. Yes. Is there a link to losing your hair to winning the championship?
It seems to work for us now. Panos wants to lose his hair so he can.
It's almost there, yeah. It's almost
and
there.
Before I go, I do want to quickly acknowledge. I think it's Evagene. Is that how you say Evagene? Francis, yes, you had a little child waving at me. I want to wave back and say hello, just for you.
Hey, say hello now.
Hey. Hello, just for you, okay? I so appreciate the fact you brought a child along. When a child thinks I'm cool, it's an awesome thing. So have a wonderful day. Thank you so much. Over to you one more time, Rafiq.
All right, thank you so much. And a lovely child, super excited looking at you, Toastmaster Mark. All the way from the Philippines. The Philippines loves you. Okay. Before I end and I end the session for today, allow me to share something which is related to our volumes of wisdom that we are sharing. And if I can very quickly find here, how do I share it? All right, I'm going to look at it and see, where is this?
And to all my friends globally, and those who keep coming back, like Panos. He keeps coming back, my friend. It's always good to see your smiling face. Thank you. And once again, thanks also to your the first person, your reactor, for her very kind words. And I know that there are those among us who know she's Polish, but she says that she also speaks Russian. So I dared to say thank you in Russian to her, and I hope I didn't make a mistake doing that. So was that correct, Dagmara? Spasiba. Okay, excellent. Thank you so very, very much. So I did say spasiba. I said salamat. I did say terima kasih if anybody here is from Malaysia. Merci for French. Dankeschön in German. Gracias in Spanish. Grazie Italiano. Obrigado. That's Portuguese. What have I left? Oh, I forgot my own language. Thank you, boss, in Jamaican. Yaman. And of course, thank you as well. I can't think of anything else at the moment because my brain is just saying, okay, that's 10. I'll stop there. But over to you, Mr. Rafiq.
Thank you so much, Toastmaster Mark Brown, 1995 World Champion of Public Speaking. All right, now that does not end there. We join you again tomorrow with our episode 2 featuring Craig Valentine, our another World Champion, 1999 World Champion of Public Speaking. The timing, though, is a bit different. We will be joining you live on Zoom, on Facebook, and on YouTube at 10 a.m. Philippines time. So I don't want to confuse you with GMT. Just look into your to Google time converters, 10 a.m. Philippines time, and you can convert that back to your own local time. And we'll see you there, same place, different time, but bringing you again nuggets of wisdom from Division K, District 75. And thank you so much. Have a good evening, good night, good morning, good afternoon. Mark, we love you. We love to have you back again one more time. Thank you so much. Have a good night.
Pleasure. Thank you all. Bye-bye.
Good night. Assalamu.